including the Islamic world, and also the Hindu world, Buddhist world, remained unconscious of this. They were not aware of this. They tried to catch up with the West and copy the West. They thought the West knew what it was doing. The whole environmental movement really begins, that's how God willed it, with a lecture that I gave in 1966, a series of lectures in Chicago. I began my academic life studying physics and mathematics. I studied my very famous American University.
They will go there next week to Boston.
I was at MIT. I was in the physics department. I was in the department at the university. I was the first in my class. Everyone could tell I was a brilliant physicist. And I was 19 years old when I had a major spiritual crisis. I realized that, in fact, modern science does not be the truth. It's just pointed readings, just that in order to manipulate nature. And rather than, I wanted to leave. I come from a very famous Persian family. My father initially was lived in Iran, and everyone was expecting me to become a great scholar. I just wanted to leave everything up some Pacific island, disappear outside, but I didn't. But we simply decision my childhood in Iran. I remained, and from that time, although I continued to study science, I finished my degree in physics from MIT, the degree in geology and geophysics from Harvard, because I wanted to also study descriptive science and the security mathematical science before going to the field of philosophy and the history of science at Harvard, where I got my doctorate. And in 1966, the very good Romanian scholar, Eliade, E-L-I-A-D-E, as a PhD student, you should know his name. He's a very, very famous Western scholar of comparative religion. He and I were friends. And he asked me if I would give the Rockler series of lectures at the University of Chicago. And he said, I've read some of your articles. Why don't you talk about nature? So I gave this series of lectures called The Encounter of Man and Nature. Well, at that time, nobody spoke about the environmental crisis, what you're doing, eco-theology, and things like that. Nobody, absolutely nobody. But because of the background that I had, both in the sciences and in traditional philosophy, and in Western philosophy and so forth, I was able to penetrate into the subject. I got 4 nights in a row, and went right back to Tehran, where I lived. And when that book came out, it was like a bomb, and the Western didn't want to touch it. I was already a very famous scholar who was studying other books. This book was just completely forgotten. But then gradually people began to turn to it, and it was translated into almost all major European languages, into French, into Portuguese, into Italian, and so on and so on. It's very well known. I don't think it's come out in Arabic, does it?
It has come out in Arabic.
Anyway, gradually, then the Islamic world was uninterested. Although I was a very influential person in Iran, people didn't want to hear about this. But I began to give lectures also within Iran, the first Islamic country, about eco-theology in a sense, and the spiritual importance of nature, and where the roots of the environmental crisis were. And gradually, interest began. Also lectured to Syria and Egypt and other Islamic countries, in Pakistan many times Pakistan, Muslim India, never in your country. Once I gave a talk in Malaysia on this issue, but I was as close as God to Indonesia. Anyway, later on I gave another famous series of lectures in England and Birmingham, which came out of the Religion and the Order of Nature. And these books have been translated languages. I don't think religion, the order of nature travels in transcend in religion, I don't know, maybe it has. I have no idea. But if it transcend my books, they haven't telling me. No, no, they're around, receive royalty, I really get to go back to the book. That's all right. It's halal to them, that's all right.
اسمعني يا شيخي أنا مولدي الحسني دقيقة أيوة.
And then from about 25 years ago, various Islamic countries became gradually aware of this issue. Not governments, they were all NGOs. And women played a very important role in this. In Tunisia, in Morocco, in Egypt, in Iran itself, in Pakistan, all these countries which have had personal relationship, Muslim women were at the forefront of this. It's a very interesting thing, the first time in Islamic history, which a major intellectual movement has the women playing such an important role in it from the very beginning. And there were a lot of women in the NGOs, even in Saudi Arabia, which it tries to disregard completely this aspect of things. There's a movement led by Saudi women, not by men. Anyway, gradually began to catch on, and many governments appointed ministers or deputy prime ministers in charge of the environment. Iran was, Islamic Republic of Iran was the first to do this, and then Egypt, and then Syria, and Pakistan are now almost every Islamic country. I think Indonesia probably has some deputy minister or someone, but so the government is as an agency that is supposed to look after this. Now, that is not enough. We need people like you who are going to be young scholars, whether they be professors, work in government, and whatever you do, even at a bank, who are aware actually of this issue. And except for the belief in God and the Prophet itself, it's the most important issue in the Islamic world, for the whole world. Otherwise, it won't exist. In 50 years, our children will have air to breathe. It's really a matter of life and death. It's crucial for the whole world. And so we need an Islamic world, people, young people, will become aware of this. And it's very interesting, the Islamic world have a lot of first-hand experience. Young people are interested. It happened like this in the United States when the environmental movement began. There were people, of course, reading it, thinkers that were 50 years old. But in most families, where the boy of 10 was telling his father that this is not the way to live, you have to not cut trees and not kill animals and so on and so on. The young, somehow God put it in their mind everywhere. They were telling their parents to be environmentally more careful, more aware. This is also happening in the Islamic world a great deal. I don't know about Indonesia, but anyway, this is to have an audience among the young, as well as among older people who make decisions which the young have to accept. You make a big factory, cement factory, next door that charges living 2 streets down has no choice. He has to breathe the air that comes out of the factory. There's no doubt about that. So we have a very big task ahead of us. And I'm at the end of my life. I'm only giving 3 more lectures after 70 years of teaching, and I'm retiring at the end of this year. December will be my last lecture. A lot of time.
فلان فواجب
من الفترة أستاذ في الجامعة
لا أيوة يعني في بيتي كبير في الدولة الشرقية يبلغ عدد طلابه 30,000 طلاب نحن وضعنا هذا الاجتماع المبارك ونحن ندعو لكم الخير واللطف ورضا الله تعالى سيجعل لنا الله تعالى هذا الاجتماع طيبا. وقبل كل شيء يا مولانا نحن طلاب مسجد الاستقلال لكوادر العلماء تحت رئاسة البروفيسور الدكتور ناصر الإمام وهو وزير الشؤون الدينية. أيوة. وكذلك نحن طلاب الجامعة لعلوم القرآن والدراسة الإسلامية بجاكرتا. زرنا إليكم هذا اليوم لأن نستفيد كثرة من العلوم التي قد قرأنا بعض الكتب التي قد ألفتموها في بعض الكتب. نحن نجد هذا اليوم the study Quran.
هذا الكتاب باللغة الإنجليزية؟
نعم ولم نجد اللغة العربية فلو يمكن لنا أن نجد كلها إن شاء الله سوف
ترجم الكتاب إلى
أيوة
إن شاء الله.
Ada yang terjemahnya ada.
Islam
Beberapa. Ada beberapa.
Islam and realism.
You study Quran.
أيوة. والآن
يمكن أن تفسر واحد جزء من هذا الكتاب الذي
Belum.
ما رأينا هذه الترجمة.
أيوة عن هذا الكتاب أنا
تبعت نسخة للشورى. أعطيكم عنوان ترسلوا للفضل.
أيوة لو نجد هذا الكتاب
Siap Bu semua.
Insyaallah, I'll try to.
Insyaallah biidnikum ya Syekh insyaallah. Nartajim ila lugha Indonesia.
والذي نحتاج لهذه الفرصة السعيدة من سماحتكم يا مولانا أن نعطي لنا يعني شتى الخبرات وشتى النظريات ما يتعلق بهذا الكتاب إذ نحن كنا يعني الآن نتركز في تفسير القرآن الكريم فلذلك نحتاج
تريد أن أتكلم في هذا الموضوع؟
أيوة نحن نحتاج إلى سماحتكم أن تلقينا عن هذا الكتاب ولا سيما المناهج والاضطرابات التي تأخذ بها في هذا الكتاب المبارك. شكرا.
الكتاب الإنجليزية أظن أنها أسهل باللغة المصرية.
أيوة.
Book called the Study of Quran. Alhamdulillah, Allah now taking place all the translations that exist. With the translation of the Quran in America, university, every university now teaches the Quran, teaches the study of the Quran. And it began in the very simple, the history I'm not a Quranic scholar. I'm a student of the Quran. English translate the Bible, there are many, many. So they go around to study Bible. Study Bible became very popular. Very, very popular. And then they go around to study Quran. Sacred book of Judaism. Although the Bible contains the Old Testament, it is the Jewish sacred text, but it goes down to Quran, the Jewish context. So there's the books around. One day I received a telephone call from the chief editor of Harper in San Francisco, saying that, Dr. Nance, do you know these books? Have you heard? I said, yes, I have it. So now we want to do a study for one. And we want you to be the chief editor. I said, I'm not a specialist in this field. We want to write on Islamic science, Islamic philosophy, comparative religion, Sufism. These are my field. He said, I'm very strange. He said, the story is very funny. He said, if you do not write it, you're not going to do the book. I said, give me 24 hours. I went home and I had a very disturbed night. I couldn't sleep. I said, on the day of judgment, Allah Ta'ala will say, you did not pay attention to my book, into hell you go. All the good things I've done with me, and now that, how can I put the Quran down? So the next morning, I told him, I said, all right, I will do it. But I have one condition. All of the studied Bible, the editors, the translators, everything are Christian. And the studied Torah, they're all Jewish. I said to him that I will accept him on one condition, that the study of Quran comes out. I'll choose everyone who will be working on it as editor, translator, everything, and they have to be Muslim. At first he balked. I said, oh my, how is that possible? I said, why is Islam different from Christianity and Judaism? I agree perfectly that a Christian Bible should be written by Christians. I'm the first to defend that. For the same reason, the study of Quran should be written by Muslims, but to be authentic. Anyway, they accepted, and I consulted several people here who became editors. I'm chief editor of the 2 European editors. And there's a section of 15 chapters of different aspects of the Quran, which I commissioned people all the way from Sheikh al-Azhar in Cairo to brilliant PhD students finishing their PhD in Islamic studies in various universities. And all the way from people here in Washington to people in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, and the whole of the Islamic world. The Indonesian Malay scholars, Bengali scholars, Indian scholars, Pakistani scholars, Arab scholars, Turkish scholars, and all over American Muslims, all over. So covering the whole of the Islamic world, and covering something which is unique in Islamic history, covering the whole gamut of commentaries. Now, you people as Muslims should know, in the 19th century, because of the influence of the West and modernization, which impressed a lot of Muslims, some Muslim scholars, especially the Subcontinent of India, and that's how Pakistan and India were not separated at the beginning. So some Indians, some Pakistanis, some Bengali, Bangladesh, the whole land. Where English was being forced by the British to replace the Persian, and English still so important in those countries and very rights in English, they began to translate the Quran and comment upon it, and it became very popular, but in a modernistic sense. A lot of the ideas that 19th century English European thought, even evolutionism and Darwinism and things like that, creeped into those translations. They're not traditional Islam. And usually the more traditional commentaries on history were written perspective. Let's say Hanafis writing commentaries because of the Hanafi point of view. Sunni, Shiite, Ismaili, this, that, different school of Islamic thought. So I did two things which is unique. They know the Quranic commentary of the 21st century like that. And that is, first of all, I rejected all modernistic translations and commentaries on understanding of the Quran. I'm a traditionalist. I've written so many books against modernism as an ideology, as a philosophy. I reject it. So everything is a traditional point of view. Secondly, it includes all orthodox traditional schools of Islam, Sunni and Shia, Hanbali and Hanafi and Maliki and Shafi'i and Ash'ari and so on, everything orthodox, not heterodox movements that occurred for 100 years somewhere, all the orthodox. And it includes all the way from Tabari and early commentaries of the early Islamic history to Allamat al-Habari, my own teacher in Iran, who wrote a 27 volume of Tafsir al-Mizan, which is also known in your country, which is in Indonesia. A very, very kind of one of the greatest commentator of the 20th century, my teacher, 20 years in Iran, I studied Islamic philosophy, I Sufism and the Quran with him. So it includes the whole gamut of Islamic history, includes all communities of Islam, all different schools of thought, but all traditional. It excludes completely modernistic interpretations of Islam, which began to creep in the 19th century, first in Egypt, and then in Syria somewhat, and then in the Indo-Pakistani subcontinent. These three lands were first modernistic interpretations of the Quran. Yeah. And so it's a unique work. It presents what Islam has been for 1400 years in a contemporary context. And we have to try to use the most elegant and eloquent English. It's written in very high level English. We use the full use of the English language, always rejecting Americanisms and slang and shortening of sentences and things like that. English is a very rich language, but it's full rich of unrealized language. So from the English language, it's a very, very important text.
Yes.
Now, I had also the Islamic World in mind, brought that up. And I knew that it would come out in the Islamic World. Alhamdulillah, it came out almost immediately in my own country in Iran. It came out in 9 volumes. It's 2,400 pages. Very special paper, extremely expensive paper. You are able to have 300-400 pages in one volume. I don't think that this is bad paper. It's a very, very strong but very thin paper, very expensive.
Right.
Yeah, but very good paper. The translation version, each volume is about 300 pages.
Oh.
That's 8 volumes. One volume of it is 9 volumes. It's supposed to come out in Turkish any day, and they're working on it. And now they're working on the Arabic translation. And inshallah, they're going to come out also in both Malay and Indonesian. I'm sure sooner or later somebody will bring it out. I've had letters from your country, from several people, also from southern India, those 2 places. They wrote it to me. They wanted to translate in India into Tamil and Malayalam, the important southern languages of the Indian world. And from your country, of course, in Indonesia. I said, fine, but I don't know what stage it's in. But sooner or later, I think, it probably will come out in these languages as well. Just think of this place in America, all the money that the Saudis pay, you go to the Saudi embassy, you have the Muhammadani translation of the Quran. It was an Indian Muslim. And all the commentaries he made, which were spiritual, philosophical, Sufi, the Saudis have taken out. So Wahhabi, so that the Wahhabi interpretation of Islam, and beautiful leather binding, and they give it away free in the embassy. The study Quran had to compete with that, but they won the day. And Saudis are very, very angry. I know people in Saudi Arabia quite well. In fact, Saudi Arabia was a friend of mine. We was in Iran. Shah asked me to build the first university in Saudi Arabia. I made 20 trips in Tehran, Saudi Arabia, to build the first university for them in Jeddah. Had a lot to do with it. So we're a close relation with them. But since fast came to power, Fast was not even with Wahhabi. He was a very, very corrupt person. This person is in the White House right now. Thief. So I did business myself about the Saudi regime, but I knew the earlier kings and many rulers and ministers and so forth quite well. When the study Quran came out, the first time ever that on the Saudi television, my name was mentioned by name. I was mentioned by name against me. So this is edited by a Shiite, not a Sunni. It's haram for Muslims of Saudi Arabia to read it and so on. The best way to sell a book is to ban it, to make it haram. And everybody goes and buys it. So it's very, very well known in Saudi Arabia. But the Saudi government set itself against it like this. But it doesn't matter. They can't control everything. Because with all that set against it, their opposition to spiritual, esoteric aspects of Islam, to Sufism, to Shiism, to Iran and everything. The main bookstore that sells religious books in Riyadh, the capital. Somebody told me I've been to Riyadh for a long time. That behind the glass of the bookshop, all your books. People buy them all the time. So it's doing also well in Saudi Arabia. Anyway, it took me 10 years. 10 years of work to do that. And that's why I'm not producing so many books that in my 90s I should not be writing anymore. But things sort of I had to put aside halfway through, and now I'm producing a large number of works, one after another. Other things that come out. Very major book on Sufism, Roshana Ross, the great Sufi poem, Sarastari, my own translation and comment, it's come out any day. It's come out any day. I have a little book which I'm sure will come out in Indonesia called What is Metaphysics? It's a short book, 100 pages, What is Metaphysics? It's very important for the community audience because it rejects the roots of the philosophical errors of the developing world. Those philosophical errors many Muslims do not realize are actually poison for Islam itself, and the people do not realize it. So we have so many Muslims today who say they find daily prayers, like I said, with Muslims. Once the prayer is finished, everything else that they do is non-Islamic. The mental world is not Islamic at all. Alhamdulillah, they still have the prayers and they said, Alhamdulillah. But we have the secularization of the mind of Muslims is a very major problem. Their hearts are still mostly with Islam. But the mind of many Muslims have been secularized, even those who do not realize it, think they're good Muslims. They know very little about Islamic intellectual life. And when they learn about their own intellectual tradition, it's not taken from Western scholars or the West sees it. What in history have people, as major civilization, looked upon itself through how another civilization had looked upon it? Every Islamic language. You have works of Orientalists who look upon the Islamic world from the European point of view. They have the right to do so. then translate it into Persian or Arabic or Indonesian or Malay or Gujarati, whatever, and then present to people as being the view of Islam. What other civilization does that? This is a frailty. This is what's happened to Islamic world. Civilization which used to be a leader intellectually globally, to become their servants without admitting it. These people had admitted they were being honest. They don't even admit it. So young people like you are really a new chapter in the history of Islam. You must have Iman, and you must have Iman in your tradition. Yes, we all have Iman that the Prophet was the Prophet of God. What do we do with this? What do we do with this? To live according to what it brought. We have to have this strong Iman that we are weak by virtue of following the revelation which we have accepted. And that is not only for Friday prayers, but 2011 prayers for the whole of life. As for, I always, people like you, come here to see me, I always take time, have a chance to talk to them and pray for all of you. May Allah Ta'ala
Amin.
guide you and help you.
Amin, amin.
Find safety.
Amin, 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 amin.
Always be men and women like imams of God's religion.
Yeah.
A lamp, wherever it goes, the luminous area around it. Inshallah.
Amin, amin, amin.
Yeah, I've said enough.
Your food is arrived.
Okay.
So it may be the last question. Say,
Is it okay?
is it okay? One more question. It's simple question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Go
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. As a young Muslim, trying to grow spiritually and come closer to Allah, what would you advise? Because modern life.
The last I've had years, I would advise you to read my Young Muslim Guide to the Modern World. Have you ever seen that book?
Yeah.
That contains really all the major questions that young people ask.
Mm-hmm.
Some very, very special questions
Okay.
that you do not know. There are people, our own disciples in Indonesia, who write contact that people give their address, and they will answer you. So,
Okay. Thank you.
all right, good luck. You go and have your
Yeah.
lunch.
Okay. Kakak disuruh makan dulu.